Today I'm going to talk to you, and with you, about nightmares. It's actually much too early in this series to talk about this particular topic, so I won't go into it to great detail. But the simple fact is this. I experienced what you could call a nightmare last night. And so, as I was doing some gardening before the sunrise, which is now, as you can see behind me, getting a little higher in the sky, I started to think about that and that it was time to process it. And then I realized I should share this with you, even though, as I said, it's much too early in the series. But I think that it is very important to share this since I just experienced it and it's fresh in my mind, and I was just about to do what I will now do with you. So this is not rehearsed. I haven't thought about it. This is just something that I'm going to explore along with you and the woodpeckers. The thing about nightmares is this. They are not what you have been conditioned to believe they are. And now that I'm thinking about it, I've never elucidated this before, so bear with me for a moment. A nightmare is... A nightmare is a message to you from you that there is a conflict going on within you. And it's a strong message that should be prompting you, pushing you, demanding of you that you resolve that conflict. And here's the key. Most of us, in fact, almost all of us, virtually all, statistically, all of us go through life intentionally blinding ourselves to things that we do not want to see, even when they are essential, critical to our well-being. And this gets us to another topic that I did not want to get into yet in the series, but we're just going to touch on things as necessary and come back to them much later in great detail. The driving force behind the way that we blind ourselves to those things which we should be, that we must be cognizant to, aware of, that we must see. And this is the key to this, is to see. I doubt that you were able to hear it, but there's a wild turkey tom behind me strutting his stuff because it's their season. He's not going to get any closer with my monkey talk disturbing him. I'm surprised that that woodpecker stayed around as long as he did. Anyway, sorry, I'm not going to be distracted by the life that I live and love, and this is the key of where I'm going with this. So I just fast forwarded right to the end. But let's come back. Fear. Fear is what I'm talking about. And, isn't this interesting? That so-called nightmare that I experienced overnight was precisely about that. Not about my fear, but about the fact that, oh my goodness, this unravels so many other aspects that we have not yet touched on that I didn't want to touch on yet. Time. Time is a big factor there. And the idea of time involved in this so-called nightmare about the fears of other people, it actually has to do with the existence of this channel, this new channel and this new series, where I have no goal. I'm not like that. But the reason I'm making these videos is because you have reached out to me and wanted to hear these things. And to me, that means that you want to eliminate your fears. And you may not know that, but that's what that really is. Because I'm not going to get into those details yet. Save it. I don't want this video to be too long. I have a lot of work to do in the garden. I interrupted myself to make this silly video. And so the idea within my mind, within my being, and ideas are the trouble here. And that's, again, I'm going to be touching on 100 things that we need to talk about in the future. Ideas are the problem. And it's manifesting itself in that form of the so-called nightmare. And just to quickly summarize the one that I experienced a few hours ago, it had to do with that notion that although there are those of you who are reaching out to me in a vain attempt to help you, because I can't help you. No one can help anyone else. You cannot even help yourself. There is no such thing as help. There is when it comes to, if I broke my arm and went to get it fixed, that's help. But the kind of help that we're talking about, the help of living your life, of actually living and not merely surviving. No one can help you to do that. No one. Not me, not you. All you can do is open your eyes. All you can do is see. That's all. And maybe somehow my silly videos might encourage you to see. And the reason that it manifested itself for me in this so-called nightmare was letting me know of something that I'm very perfectly aware. I'm not going to say what I just saw. And what I am perfectly aware of that this so-called nightmare was there to remind me of is that any hope that I have to help you, that's the nightmare. Because there's no such thing as help. And I know that. But there's still, since I had that so-called nightmare, that conflict is still going on. So part of me, in my deep subconscious, if you will, I don't like that term, but let's be brief. That's another video. At any rate, somewhere deep inside of me, a little part still has that hope. And where there's hope, there's judgment. And there's time. There's time, there's judgment, there's expectation, there's disappointment. There's all this manner of intellectual garbage that gets in the way of actually living and forcing you to survive with all of these monkeys on your back. And so you see, I hope, that after a lifetime of abandoning this nonsense, there are still tiny little vestiges of it there, floating around in my so-called subconscious. And the nightmare comes up to say, oh, look, here's some garbage floating around in your subconscious. You better deal with this or else it's going to grow like a poisonous mushroom. The morels are up. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to be eating some tomorrow. They're almost big enough. Mushrooms, yes. Be careful of poisonous morels. Be careful. I'm not telling you to eat mushrooms. But I will. Anyways. That arose within me, that indicator that said, this is still happening somewhere deep in your Monkey DOS 1.0. That's the operating system that we all have that was given to us by evolution. And the unfortunate thing is there's no patch to 1.1. But you can switch operating systems. Better still, get rid of the operating system. But that's another video. So, as I am speaking to you, I am actually resolving what was revealed to me in my own so-called nightmare a few hours ago. And I will now express it to you as best as I can with these horrific, terrible, brutal, inaccurate, faulty, and accident-prone so-called tools of words. And that is to take into me the seeing, and this is the key. The nightmare shows you visually. You're seeing these scenes playing in front of you like a movie. And sometimes it can be an interactive movie. And that's what I used to teach back in my days of teaching shamanism. How to control your dreams, how to have lucid dreams. We're not going to go there, ever, I don't think. That's not safe. If you want to learn about that, you'll have to come and talk to me in person. Or find another shaman somewhere else. Of the discipline, if you will, of the dreamer. Because there are different types of shaman. And so the dream is presented to you in this visual form because that's how you really have that sudden awakening, that sudden growth, that sudden dropping of those invisible chains, is when it comes to you visually, not as a thought, not as an idea, not as a bunch of ridiculous words like the ones I'm wasting my breath on right now, but as something that you see clearly. You see the lightning in the distance and you know. You don't have to think. You know as soon as you see it. You feel it. You see it. It is real. It's not a thought. It's not an idea. It's not a suggestion. It's not a word. See, when I said that just now, that you see the lightning, did you see lightning? Did you see it in your mind's eye? That's real. Those are not words. That's a vision that I sent from my mind to yours. My thoughts to your thoughts. Our minds are merging. And so, I saw this in my so-called nightmare. And now I have embraced what I saw. And I see it. not in my subconscious mind. Because this is the key, right? If you want to go down that road of this very inaccurate and only partially functional and mainly malfunctioning notion of the conscious and the subconscious, it's a broken concept. But part of it works for our purposes here. And that is the difficulty that we often have in remembering dreams. And that's part of what that whole shamanism nonsense is that I used to teach. How to get you to remember your dreams by understanding what's really going on. And we're touching on that now without going there. And so I have now embraced what I saw with my so-called subconscious mind a few hours ago. And now I'm embracing it with my so-called conscious mind. And by doing so, its power vanishes. The power of what I saw, of that so-called nightmare. It is vanquished now because I've seen it. Take a moment and see. Don't think. It's not about the words. See your own nightmare. Any one that you've ever had that you can remember, because if it's significant, it will come to you right now. See it. See it with your waking mind. Destroy your illusion that it has power over you, that fear has power over you. Destroy these illusions. Dissolve them, if you will. Destroy is such a violent word. It's not about destroy. It's about dissolving. Melt the ice with the warmth of the sun that I feel on my back right now. That glorious melting heat. That's better. And understand that it's not about thinking, that it's not about understanding. Understand beyond the principle of understanding, because understanding is a word. And because it's a word that represents an idea, that represents a thought, that represents the one thing that drives all of this machinery and chicanery is fear. Dissolve it, melt it with the heat of the illumination of the sun that dispels, there's the word, it dispels the darkness of fear. That reminds me of a song that I just removed from the soundtrack to my film in the final cut that rolls during the end credits. I replaced it with one that was more suitable based on what happened during the filming with Mo's suicide. It's actually a song that I wrote for him. But the song that it replaced is exactly about what we're talking about right now. The very first line of it that I wrote 23 years ago says, sometimes it's true, we can be led by fear. And if I kept if I kept quoting those lyrics, I could have maybe just done that instead of this video. Because the message is almost identical. It's just not so specific. But there's more in that song that I have not shared with you. At any rate, I think it's time for me to get back into the garden because the sun is getting higher and warmer and the bugs are going to be out of control. And I've got some stuff I need to get done. And I think that the pileated woodpecker there is kind of getting sick of listening to me. But I just want to make sure that I'm ending this not leaving you frustrated. Did I really cover enough of this? I think so. Because if there's one takeaway message at the end, it's this. I'm sitting on an island in one of my vernal pools. This island only exists now. It could be gone tomorrow. I doubt it because we're going to get a lot of rain tonight, which is why I'm actually making this video now. But I'm sitting in a sacred spot. And what is it that makes it sacred? It's the fact that it's only here now. In a couple of months, this island will not exist, for all of this water will be gone. And that's a sacred thing. That's what makes everything, which is another topic for a future video, things. The fact that everything, including the universe itself, is transitory is what makes it special. That's what's special about every moment, every breath that you take, is it's transitory. You will die. I will die. Part of me is looking forward to it, actually. I'm not going to get into that. But this island is sacred. And I'm so blessed to be here, sitting on this sacred island, fearless, within this domain, alive, not surviving, living. And that's my message to you on this sacred day.